These days, the residents of Marquette County can choose from 16 over-the-air radio stations, several satellite networks, and countless music streaming services. That, however, was not the case when Marquette got its first radio station over 90 years ago. Even though it was only 10 years old as a commercial medium, by 1931 radio had become the dominant form of entertainment in a depression-ravaged country. Despite that, Marquette residents could only listen to big city stations at the time, and only at night when their signals skipped across the sky from Chicago or Detroit. So the owners of the Marquette Mining Journal formed a subsidiary, the Lake Superior Broadcasting Company, and received approval for construction of a new station to be called WBEO. Community excitement was high, and as the station sized up, the scope of the project became clear. Not only was WBEO to have a full announcing staff, but it also hired its own orchestra comprised of local musicians. After all, radio of this era did everything live: music, news, drama, and whatever else they needed to do to fill the time. And because of that, the entire staff was pressed into action when the station finally signed on during a grand 40-hour broadcast beginning July 2nd, 1931. The station became an instant hit for several reasons. One was that Marquette finally had its own station. In fact, they had to close the lobby to the public because so many people would come down to the studios in the old Mining Journal building just to see what a radio station looked like. And it also became a hit because during its first few years, the programming was local. If an area resident had talent, they were pressed into service. Local singers, actors, and speakers often found themselves in downtown Marquette performing on WBEO several times a week. By the late 1930s, WBEO found itself woven into the fabric of Marquette life. The Mining Journal eventually changed the call letters of the station from WBEO to WDMJ, which stood for Daily Mining Journal, and the station's reliance on local talent soon faded when it became an affiliate of the Mutual Radio Network, allowing it to air comedies and dramas that have now become part of radio legend.
Shadow knows.
Even after television supplanted radio as the nation's favorite form of entertainment, WDMJ remained Marquette's primary radio station. In the mid-1960s, they signed on the city's first commercial FM station, which allowed for a crystal clear signal that WDMJ AM could not provide. However, after the Mining Journal sold off the radio stations in the early 1970s, the new owners got rid of that FM station, which you can still listen to as WHWL. As taste and technology changed, standalone AM stations like WDMJ found themselves with fewer listeners and a reliance on talk programming, in the end becoming a forgotten legacy of radio's early days. But when it signed on more than 90 years ago, WBEO became the first of now almost a dozen and a half radio stations that call Marquette and Marquette County home.